It is time to play a game in which I like to call the free agency quarterback game. What is going on, y'all? 5 Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL, and here to talk a little bit about free agency in the NFL. But before I get into that, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you go ahead and you subscribe because there's a lot of content that I do post on this channel. And you don't want to miss out, and turn on my post notifications by clicking the bell icon down below to be notified every time I drop a new video. And while you're at it, why not just follow me on my social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, links down below on the screen. Send me up, guys, all right? Go ahead and do so. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead in this video and predict where every single free agent quarterback is going to land, as well as the quarterbacks that are in the trade rumors that we expect to be on the move as well. So let's get started. So very simple game here. Just going to name the quarterback and then reveal the team he's on via the whiteboard, okay? And then I'll turn it around and reveal it for you guys. Heck, I might write some of the predictions right here as I'm talking to you guys. So with that being said, let's start with the guys that I just want to get out of the way. First, in which it is a foregone conclusion, or they have already announced that they are going to stay, leave wherever they are at, and that is Drew Brees and Prescott. Both quarterbacks that were technically free agents, but we know Drew Brees, for one, he is going to return to the New Orleans Saints. He is not going to retire. And Prescott, who is 99.9% going to return to the Dallas Cowboys via new contract or a franchise tag. I say 99.9% because you never know, but it is pretty much set. He is not going to hit the open market. I don't believe the Dallas Cowboys will let that happen. So if we take those two out of the equation, now we can talk about the other quarterbacks in which we actually know that there is a legitimate chance that they could leave. So let's start. I'm going to go ahead and start with the ones that I feel pretty confident about, okay? Our first quarterback on the board we have here is Philip Rivers. So where do I believe Mr. Philippine Rivers is going to end up? And my team of choice is going to be, I wish I had a drum roll here, the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, that's right, the Indianapolis Colts. And this is the one prediction that I feel the most confident about because it just makes too much damn sense. Okay, the Colts have a boatload of cap space. They're not a rebuilding team. They need a quarterback. Yes, I know they have Jacoby Brissett, but we all saw last season he is nothing more than a glorified backup in this league. And Philip Rivers is not going to return to the Los Angeles Chargers. They have literally announced that they are parting ways. So he is going to go to a new team. You go to an Indianapolis team that plays in a dome. Philip Rivers is used to playing in warm weather. Solid offensive line. Coaching staff is good. It's a good culture. And they have good weapons around. And the biggest part is they are not, even though folks tend to believe they are not a rebuilding team. They are a win-now team. They can throw a bunch of money at Philip Rivers. It just makes too much damn sense. That is where I have Philip Rivers going. Let's move on to the next pick, and I'll stay with the aging quarterbacks, and we'll do Tom Brady next, okay? So where do I believe Mr. Tom Brady is heading? I believe Tom Brady will, and again, I wish I had a drum roll right in front of me, or somebody doing it for me, stay with the New England Patriots. Yes, that is right. It's the boring answer. It's the answer nobody wants to hear, but it's the correct answer, okay? So here's where I'm at with Tom Brady. I legitimately do think he's going to consider all his options. Absolutely, okay? He is going to go and visit and talk with teams and everything. But when push comes to shove, I do believe Tom Brady knows that there are not really any home run situations out there. The teams that have cap space aren't very good, and the teams that are good don't really have cap space. And so Tom Brady, he's going to realize there really isn't a better situation for him than New England. Now, I get it. The Patriots don't really have the most talented roster around Tom Brady, but I believe they can figure out ways like they always do to surround him with some talent. And so I believe at the end, Tom Brady will do his due diligence, but he will end up staying, and I do believe the Patriots will fork over whatever amount of money it will take to keep him, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $25 to $30 million. Okay, so that is where I have Tom Brady going. The next big free agent quarterback that we have is Mr. Teddy Bridgewater. So where do I have Teddy Bridgewater ending up in free agency? Because we all know he's not going to return to the Saints now with Drew Brees back, and they are going to probably bring back Taysom Hill as well. I have Teddy Bridgewater going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, that's right. This, to me, makes a lot of sense. One, because money should not be an issue. The Bucs can throw whatever amount of money they want at Teddy Bridgewater. They have a boatload of cap space. There's only a handful of teams that really have just a ridiculous amount of cap space. They can do whatever. Bucs being one of them, the Dolphins, the Colts, etc. And so, again, money isn't an issue. Teddy Bridgewater is going to get paid like he wants to. The bigger thing here is I believe Bruce Arians is done with Jameis Winston. I believe he wants to move on. This is a guy who threw 30 interceptions last year. Yes, I know he threw 30 touchdowns, but 30 interceptions? Bruce Arians does not want that. And if you go and listen to his comments, just listen to me and go and listen to his comments about Jameis Winston and whether or not he wants to bring him back, and you'll just read them and be like, this does not sound like a guy that wants Jameis back. And so to me, I think he wants a solid, a quarterback that just runs his playbook, doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't have to have, the biggest arm, but as long as he can execute the offense, that is all Bruce Arians wants. And Teddy Bridgewater is perfect, okay? It's not like you're giving him a rebuilding rookie or someone or like a young player like that. And I don't believe, even though the Bucs should, I don't believe they're going to draft a quarterback. And so Teddy Bridgewater, still relatively young, still can improve, is the perfect fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now let's move on and quickly run through the rest of these quarterbacks that are left. Next up on the list, we have Andy Dalton. So where will the Red Rifle end up? And the answer may not be what a lot of you guys are thinking. So let's just get right into it. I believe Andy Dalton will end up with the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, I know everybody expected me to say the Chicago Bears, but I just don't see it happening for financial reasons. Here's my reasoning for the Chargers. Okay, the Chargers, to me, obviously now moving on from Phillip Rivers, they're looking for a guy that is a bridge quarterback. And Andy Dalton, we all know his days as an NFL starting quarterback for, an X amount of time are pretty much over. I mean, Andy Dalton is going to be turning into a journeyman quarterback, if you will, and he is the perfect bridge quarterback for the Chargers as they draft the heir apparent to now Phillip Rivers, who is going to obviously be departing, but they don't want a guy that they have to sign for like 5 years because they want to start the young quarterback that they eventually end up drafting. And so Andy Dalton, you can start him for half a season, a full season, maybe 2 seasons, and develop the young players, and he'll be cheap, and you'll be able to build around him. So I think this makes a lot of sense. This is where I have Andy Dalton going, and it's a good situation for him as well. Let's move on to the next quarterback that I have, and it's another veteran quarterback. And you guys know I've talked about him a lot if you follow this channel, and that is Case Keenum. Where do I have Case Keenum ending up? And I'm going to try to make the suspense here, but I really can't. Yeah, I have him going to the Bears, folks. Again, I'm going to make this one quick because you guys should know this by now. My reasoning for Case Keenum has always been he's cheap. He's a solid veteran quarterback. He's going to be just bad enough for the Bears to not start him, but just good enough to push Mitch Trubisky, which is exactly what they want to do. And him being cheap is going to allow them to spend on positions that they actually want to upgrade, like tight end, like offensive line. That's not to say they don't want to upgrade quarterback, but they do believe that these other positions are more of a need right now than quarterback. And so I believe Case Keenum, the biggest advantage he has is he's going to be inexpensive, but at the same time, he's better than what they had in Chase Daniel, and he is going to be able to push Mitch. And if anything happens to Mitch, whether that's injury or he gets benched, Case Keenum can come in and still not make it seem like the season is completely lost, because we've seen him go to an NFC Championship game before. He's had relatively good games before, and so we know he's capable. And so that's why I've got Case Keenum going to the Chicago Bears. We're down to, I believe, our last 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Let's move on to Mr. Derek Carr. Where do I have Derek Carr ending up? And I know a lot of you guys have Derek Carr going, a bunch of places. Again, the boring, the non-sexy answer that says the Raiders, by the way. My handwriting might be kind of bad. I have Derek Carr staying with the Raiders. And here's why. Derek Carr, to me, was decent last season. Nothing to write home about, but he was still solid. And I do believe this is if we don't get Tom Brady, we're keeping Derek Carr type of option for the Raiders here. Basically, it's home run or miss. So if Tom Brady agrees to come to the Las Vegas Raiders, they will move on from Derek Carr and trade him. But if he does not, and if he ends up going somewhere else or stays with the Patriots, I believe they have no issues bringing back Derek Carr. Again, he was not the reason the Raiders weren't that great last year. Again, they had a fairly solid season compared to what their expectations were. And so I believe, again, if they don't get Tom Brady, they are keeping Derek Carr. Now, let's move on to our second to last quarterback that we have here, and that is Jameis Winston. And I'll be honest with you guys, not very confident about this one. This was kind of a who's left type of transaction for me. But hey, I still do think it makes a little bit of sense, and that is the Miami Dolphins. Now, here's the thing with the Dolphins. They could certainly draft a quarterback still. I don't think this would stop them. But they have a boatload of money, and Jameis is just going to be looking to get paid. And I do believe the Dolphins want to, perhaps, even if they draft a quarterback, like let's say they draft Tua, right? Jameis would be a fairly, competent option to have while Tua rehabs. And then in about a year, you can go ahead and start Tua or whenever he recovers. The biggest issue I see here is the years on the deal. Jameis Winston, I believe that the Dolphins, the best way for them to go about this is give a front-loaded deal for like a 2-year deal, right? Where the first year is guaranteed, the second year is not. A short-term deal. Nobody out there, not just the Dolphins, nobody out there should be giving Jameis Winston a 5-6 year deal. He's looking for that, but they shouldn't be, okay? So I have Jameis Winston going to the Miami Dolphins. Now, we actually have 2 more quarterbacks left, and they are both from the same team, and that is Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota. So I will be doing both of them at the same time, or one after the other, but relatively at the same time. Let's start with Ryan Tannehill. Where do I believe Ryan Tannehill ends up after this season? I believe he stays with the Tennessee Titans, which means, yes, I have Marcus Mariota going to a different team, which I will reveal in just a second. But let's talk quickly about Ryan Tannehill staying with the Tennessee Titans. Look, they made it this far with him in the AFC Championship game. Unless you get Tom Brady, okay, which I believe is their preferred option, I believe they're going to re-sign Ryan Tannehill. This doesn't have to be a 5-6 year deal. This could still be another short-term deal because we've seen, quarterbacks have a flurry of good games and then turn back into who we know that they are, a la Nick Foles, a la Case Keenum, like guys like that. And so with Ryan Tannehill, the Titans had a formula. They have a formula. They are returning mostly the same players, and if they re-sign Derrick Henry, why not? They had so much success with Ryan Tannehill. Go at it once more and see if you can replicate it, okay? And now, finally, if that means Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback at the Titans, where do I believe Marcus Mariota ends up? And I believe, this is going to shock a lot of you guys, I believe Marcus Mariota ends up with the Philadelphia Eagles. Fives, what are you talking about? The Eagles? Marcus Mariota is going to want a starting job. Yeah, well, I want $1 million. We don't always get what we want. And here's the thing with Marcus Mariota. I like Marcus Mariota. I think he's a solid quarterback, but there's just not that many options for him, okay? And with the Eagles, They need a backup quarterback with Josh McCown now gone. And we obviously know Nick Foles left last season. And this makes perfect sense for them because, again, they have an injury-prone quarterback in Carson Wentz. And if Carson Wentz goes down, they'll have a very capable backup in Marcus Mariota. So to me, I think Marcus Mariota is absolutely going to try to find a starting job. But if he doesn't, don't sleep on the Eagles as a potential team for a backup role. Now, if you were to tell me, Fiz, do you see any potential starting roles for Mariota? I can really, the one scenario I see that he could start, which would be literally a perfect opportunity for him, would be if Tom Brady leaves and the Patriots snatch him up. That would be the dream scenario for Marcus Mariota, not necessarily the New England Patriots, but you get my point here. So that scenario, I can kind of see it, but that's about it really. For the most part, I don't believe he will have an easy time getting his starting gig. So there you have, folks. We went through all of the quarterbacks. Let me just recap here. Tom Brady to the New England Patriots. We talked about Jameis Winston to the Miami Dolphins, Marcus Mariota to the Eagles, Andy Dalton to the Chargers, Case Keenum to the Bears, Phillip Rivers to the Colts, Derek Carr to the Raiders, Ryan Tannehill to the Titans, and Teddy Bridgewater to the Bucs. So there you have it. If you enjoyed that video, please give this video a big thumbs up and let me know down below. I can do more videos like this, folks. Really appreciate you guys for watching. As always, make sure to subscribe.